Hey guys, Mark with Muscle Diet here. We're at the new high-tech training facility in Lichfield, Staffordshire, UK. Anyhow, yeah, HIIT. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about why HIIT works. We all know that all the good trainers these days incorporate HIIT into people's fat loss routines. We all know that. All the good ones do it already. Some are still in the dark ages and they think it's something wrong with it or they haven't heard of it yet, but just about all the good ones use it. Now, the thing that no one has explained that I'm going to explain today, that I've read deep into the science on this, is why HIIT works better. And no one has properly explained this to the fitness or exercise community yet, but I'm going to do it today, okay? So, what do we know about HIIT versus LISS? And HIIT is being high intensity interval training, LISS being low intensity steady state training, so cardio jogging as opposed to sprinting and then taking a rest and then sprinting again. Alright, so that's what we're talking about here. Now the fundamental difference from a metabolic perspective is that during low intensity training, you're using mostly fat for fuel. As you increase the intensity and you do high intensity training, you're using more and more carbs for fuel. And when you're sprinting all out, you're using a lot of carbs for fuel and very, very little fat. So that's why a lot of people back in the old days used to think, oh, well, you got to do low intensity training because you use a higher percentage of fat, and we're trying to burn fat. Now, this is where things get really kind of ironic, but I'll explain that in a second. But now, why does HIIT cause such substantial fat loss? Okay, despite the lower calorie burn during exercise, okay? So now, they've done a lot of the studies when they do low intensity cardio versus high intensity cardio. The people that do low intensity burn way, way more calories because they do it for much, much longer. Yet the high intensity training group almost always loses more body fat despite burning supposedly way, way fewer calories. Why does that happen? How's this magic happening? The original theory was EPOC. Excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, and all that means is when you're recovering, because you expended so much effort during HIIT, your body takes a while to recover, and that was the main theory. And they thought because you burn so many calories afterwards, that's why the HIIT works so well. It's actually not that simple. It is partly probably that, but the main reason is, ironically, everything gets turned completely on its head after exercise. See, during low intensity, you're burning all fat, but it doesn't actually increase the amount of fat you burn after the activity. During high intensity interval training, you're using almost exclusively carbs for fuel during exercise, but ironically, afterwards, you're using almost exclusively fat. It really upregulates those enzymes in your body that burn fat throughout the day. So if you do high intensity interval training every other day, you're going to increase the enzymes that burn fat a lot more. And the reason is, and this is a bit of speculation on my part, but I think it's a pretty good educated guess. The reason is because when you increase the use of carbs for fuel during all this high intensity interval training, you end up with low glycogen levels. Glycogen are your fuel tanks in your muscles. So when your body senses low glycogen levels, that it's happening all the time, and it thinks it has to sprint to survive because that's what you're doing to it all the time, then what happens is your body thinks, okay, I've got to save all the carbs I get. I've got to spare carbohydrate and sugar usage and use fat for fuel, and that's exactly what it does. So throughout the day, after your HIIT exercise and before your next HIIT session, you're burning all this fat because your body wants to hold on to all the sugar and starch it gets in a diet and put it into glycogen, and then that glycogen can be used for high intensity exercise performance. So that's my research-backed theory on why HIIT works so well that no one's ever explained before. So hopefully that gives everyone some food for thought, and hopefully that explains the reason why HIIT is superior. And some studies show that calorie for calorie burnt during exercise, HIIT can be up to 9 times more effective. So every calorie you burn that says on the treadmill you burned 1,000 calories, if you burned 1,000 calories in HIIT, you'd burn 9 times, you'd lose 9 times more body fat. So think about that. That's massive, and that's been shown in research amongst lots of other stuff we're going to talk over the course of the series. Alright guys, so like, subscribe, what was the other one? Comment, like, comment, subscribe. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that, people, and we'll talk to you on the next video.